I didn't believe the stories when I first heard them. A hauntingly eerie abandoned amusement park left to decay. With its neon lights extinguished, and its laughter silenced. The park was set against a foreboding gloomy sky with thick cloudy wisps. The park illuminated only by the faint glow of a full moon hanging low in the horizon. Its creamy yellow light casting an unsettling ambience, the rickety roller coaster and crumbling funhouse structures looming like skeletal giants. The grounds filled with overgrown twisted vines and dead leaves. Rusted carousels and swings hanging still, as if frozen in time. The atmosphere thick with an aura of dread and abandonment. The moon's silvery light accentuating the eerie shadows that dance across the desolate landscape. Urban explorers swore the park was haunted, its attractions cursed. I thought it was just another ghost story. That was before I saw it for myself. It started when my best friend, Mike, got the idea to check it out. "It's just an old park," he said, grinning as he held up the grainy photos he found online. The images were creepy enough: rusted rides, shattered funhouse mirrors, and a Ferris wheel that loomed like a skeletal giant against the twilight sky. I wasn't thrilled, but curiosity won out. We arrived just before sunset. The road leading to the park was overgrown, the pavement cracked and swallowed by weeds. The massive entrance archway still stood, its faded letters spelling Starlight Funland. The cheerful name felt mocking. As we stepped through the gates, the temperature seemed to drop. The first thing I noticed was the smell, a mix of damp earth and rotting wood. The ticket booths were crumbling, their windows shattered. The carousel sat eerily still, its once bright horses dulled by years of neglect. The air was heavy, and the silence pressed against my ears like a physical weight. We wandered through the park, snapping photos and laughing nervously. It was just a place, I told myself. Nothing more. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the atmosphere shifted. The laughter felt forced, and I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. We reached the funhouse next. Its garish facade had faded into a disturbing mask of peeling paint and cracked wood. Mike wanted to go in, but I hesitated. Something about the gaping entrance, like a clown's mouth frozen in a grotesque grin, made my skin crawl. But I didn't want to look scared, so I followed him inside. The air was stale and cold. Our flashlights flickered against warped mirrors and broken stairs. As we moved deeper, the sounds began, soft whispers that seemed to echo just out of reach. At first, I thought it was the wind sneaking through the broken walls. Then, I heard my name. "Jack," it whispered, faint and far away. I froze. "Did you hear that?" I asked Mike. He shook his head, but I could see the unease creeping into his expression. The whispers grew louder, coming from all around us. Then, a loud bang shattered the air, and we both jumped. "It's just a loose board," Mike said, but his voice trembled. We left the funhouse in a hurry. Outside, the park seemed darker than before, the shadows deeper and more alive. The Ferris wheel loomed in the distance, its skeletal frame creaking in the breeze. "I want to check it out," Mike said, his voice steadier now. "I think we should leave," I replied. But Mike was already heading toward it. Reluctantly, I followed, every step heavy with dread. When we reached the Ferris wheel, the unease was almost unbearable. The air felt thicker, like it was harder to breathe. Mike climbed onto the platform and shined his flashlight into one of the carriages. "Look at this," he called, his voice echoing in the stillness. I stepped closer, but then the wheel groaned. It was subtle at first, but then the entire structure began to creak and sway. "Get off," I shouted, panic lacing my voice. Mike laughed nervously. "It's not going anywhere." But then it started to move. The wheel turned slowly, the rusty chains groaning in protest. The carriages, empty and broken, began to sway. Mike scrambled off the platform just as the wheel picked up speed, spinning faster and faster. The sound was deafening, a metallic scream that echoed through the night. We backed away, hearts racing, as the wheel suddenly stopped. Silence fell again, heavier than before. Then, from one of the carriages, I saw it, a figure sitting perfectly still. "Do you see that?" I whispered. Mike nodded, his face pale. The figure was indistinct, shrouded in shadows, but there was something unmistakably human about it. Without warning, the carriage door creaked open, and the figure stepped out. It moved unnaturally, its limbs jerking as if it wasn't used to walking. My flashlight caught its face for just a moment, pale, hollow-eyed, and twisted into an unnatural grin. We ran. Every step felt like I was wading through quicksand, the air thick with fear. The whispers returned, louder now, calling our names, mocking us. I swear I felt something brush against my arm, cold and clammy like a dead hand. When we finally reached the gates, I dared to look back. The figure stood at the edge of the park, watching us. Its grin seemed wider now, its hollow eyes locked on mine. We didn't stop until we were miles away. When we finally pulled over, Mike and I sat in silence, trying to process what had happened. We agreed never to talk about it, but the nightmares came anyway. Even now, years later, I can't forget that face. Sometimes when I'm alone at night, I swear I can still hear the whispers, faint and distant, calling my name. What happened at Starlight Funland? I don't know, and I don't think I ever want to find out. If you like this video, a thumbs up is always appreciated. And by subscribing to the channel, you help support the creation of more videos just like this one, real short scary stories, disturbing short horror stories.